everyone, and welcome along to another episode on the LOPSided Podcast, the podcast for legal operations professionals by legal operations professionals. But this time we're mixing it up a little bit, or not mixing it up, but this is more targeted, a real celebration of Pride Month. So over the next couple of episodes, I'm going to be joined by trailblazers in the worlds of legal operations, whether that be the services, the people that get the people into the right roles, but those people that are kind of pioneering the development, the evolution of legal operations. And with all of that said, I'm joined by one of those people in the recruitment space, executive recruitment, Karen Rayment. How you doing?
Sean. Yeah, very well, thank you. Good to be
see
here.
you. Yeah. Good to see you. So,
thank you.
How I usually start these, Karen, is like an elevator introduction on people, a bit targeted around this thing that I'll tell you this because obviously, from a recruitment point of view, it's kind of John's version of Myers-Briggs to a certain extent. I used to ask people this kind of has test in interviews, or test is the wrong terminology, but understanding their hero, their accomplishments, and what So I've tried. I
was going to say I can just tell you I'm red yellow. I think.
Yeah, there's the DISC assessment, isn't there? It's so funny when you start to get into that psychology piece. But anyway, I digress. Who's your hero?
So interesting. I've always struggled with that question.
Okay.
Because I find it difficult to find people that I admire. And I gave it a lot of thought around what does a hero embody for me, and I came down to its values. And so, interestingly, I saw Beyonce on Saturday at Tottenham Hotspurs, and when I dug under what she's about and who she is and how she's authentic and how she's philanthropic and she's generous and she acts with integrity, and she's a very successful woman who backs what she believes in.
I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, me either.
I love Beyonce.
But it was a real, because I really dug into it. I looked at so many different characters. And I think the last time I got asked this, when I said Jacinta, the Kiwi Prime Minister. But then I thought about it, and I was like, no, that's not enough. There's not enough there. But that encapsulates everything for me.
Great. And what's your greatest accomplishment?
My daughter. Anybody that knows me will know that. So 5 years of IVF and 6 rounds, and we got her, and I'm over the moon. It's the best job in the world.
I've seen a picture.
Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah, she is. She's super cute.
So cute. All right, and the most important question, of course, which song are you singing on a karaoke night out with a team?
Oh, it's a tough one. So I'm tossing up between Men at Work, Down Under, obviously.
John Farnham, The Voice?
No, Oasis, Wonderwall.
See, I'd be a Live Forever man if it was Oasis.
Yeah. No, it was the only one that came out in Australia that I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so what's the one job you'd trade your current job for?
Oh, that was a hard one too. So I went with, if money was not an object, a safari tour guide.
Oh.
I love animals.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That would be an amazing.
Yeah.
Probably, hard to get insured.
Yeah, but that's all right. But I just remember when I went on safari, the guy that I was with, he was really into animal behavior, and nobody that was at the lodge wanted to come out with us one day. So we had him to ourselves, and he said, "What do you want to see?" And we're like, "You're the expert. You take us to what you want to see," which is amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to touch a bit on your personal journey. So obviously a leading professional in what you do, but can you share a bit about the journey as an LGBTQ plus professional in terms of defining moments, things that might have shaped your career path?
Yeah. For those that don't know, I started my career off in banking.
Okay.
I was working in the financial markets. I was working for Zurich at the time. And interestingly, I met a lawyer from Baker McKenzie, and it hadn't been a consideration for me at the time, ever. And I was so smitten, it just didn't even occur that there would be any kind of consequences, unlike many other people who I know who really struggled with their coming out experience. I just kind of announced it at work and was very lucky to have not only an amazing and supportive team around me, but a very inclusive team. I think my first gay friend was at Zurich when I was around that time as well. And so it for me, and I know a lot of other people have had different experiences, but for me, it felt very natural. And so I've always been quite authentic in who I am and how I present to the world as well. And I think that that's probably helped my journey.
And did that play into my next question around kind of mentor more than probably allies, but more mentor in your professional growth? Was it something? Did that happen as part of that coming out? Was it someone who with that level of acceptance and
Do you know
at the
what? When I
same
was
time seeing
thinking
your
about it,
potential?
yeah, well, when I was thinking about it, actually, I had put a couple of mentors that I had that was at that time. I had these two female bosses, very different in their style, but both very effective. And I took the pieces that resonated the most with me. But at the same time that was happening, this first ever gay friend of mine was working with me, and I used to always clean up his mess because he was useless. And so it was like a combination of all of those things. So I had like this big brother, this big gay brother who just kind of cleared the path for me. And these two, ultra effective women, but just in their like different ways. And so that was really formative for me. But then, I came over to the UK in 2005 and I changed careers completely. But it's something that I've been conscious of, and it's something that I've seen change and evolve over the last 20 years since I've been over here.
So thinking about that in the space of kind of recruitment, how can hiring managers better recognize the strategic value of diverse experience, especially from kind of less traditional backgrounds?
So that one is, I thought about that one for a while as well, because I found that from my perspective in sitting in the recruitment seat and having worked with so many different organizations and teams, I mean, look, there's a lot of research out there, first and foremost, that shows that that having diverse teams, both from a life experience, but also from an industry experience, or from different countries, better performing, better at decision making, and have a greater output. And so, like, from the recruitment perspective, you need to just be, I guess, more inclusive in how you interview and how you put people through the process. Like, if I think about it from a practical perspective, but it's first of all recognizing the value that a truly diverse team can bring. Policies, internal policies, it's those kinds of things that will help to attract people as well.
So is that kind of connected to the core skills or traits you look for when you're kind of looking to unearth the next gem in legal operations? Because there's this, and look, this is educational for me. Like this the nature of the background bring with it a kind of an ingrained sense of resilience that can be redeployed.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Look, I'm like I say, I'm learning on the go. It's just
No, EQ, resilience, adaptability,
self-awareness.
Yeah, all of those things, and curiosity. I think that curiosity is at the core of anyone from the LGBTQ plus community.
And what are the kind of the blind spots in how legal teams focusing into legal, like
specifically
in terms of how they assess or sometimes undervalue certain types of talent? Like, is there a did you find, and obviously, I mean, you've got God knows how many candidates feeding back on God knows how many interviews that they go to. Do you see a kind of correlation between those people from diverse backgrounds and the inability of the hiring managers within the law firms, the big four, whoever it might be, to really see the benefits of that? Like, is there, like, are there blind spots?
Yeah, there's definitely blind spots. I mean, there's loads of blind spots. I think the actual interview process itself is a big blind spot. And look, I can point a whole heap of holes in lots of different things and look at it and go, okay, well, first of all, I think CVs have to be stripped back of, they need to be anonymized. Like from my opinion, they need to be anonymized. You need to have a more diverse crew of people involved in the process, but they also need to be educated on how to interview to get that consistent approach. I mean, everyone does unconscious bias and all of that kind of training, but it's that inclusivity, even in just how you write job specs. Not that I particularly like job specs myself, but yeah, and then other blind spots. It's it's a difficult one to tackle.
So I wanted to kind of bring this into the what was I think we're in our kind of pre-conversation, the talent equation. So skill, strategy, self-identity. Your own identity as an LGBTQ plus professional, like more broadly, how has that shaped your approach? Like we talked about resilience,
authenticity, resilience, curiosity, open-mindedness. I think that they're all really important things when you're helping people to transition and change the way that they do things. And that's very much what legal operations is about, is that you're working with people to help them to unlock what they're doing and do more of it. Like I was chatting to someone earlier today, and it was like technology and all of the process improvement and all of the operational efficiencies that you create are there to enable. And what do they enable? They enable you to be a human and interact with people and unlock that potential.
And how do they bring, and you've touched on it there, but it'd be good to hear a bit more, like how do they bring strengths to understanding what a function needs? Is it through like the engagement with people and, being able to try to, I suppose some of it really is like an internal cell or an external cell, legal operations.
It is a cell.
It's a cell of sorts, isn't it? And
yeah.
I suppose that being able to deal with, not with rejection, but more.
I mean, resilience, I think, is the biggest. Resilience is the biggest thing. Yeah. And then the EQ, being able to adapt and develop your communication style so that you're being able to influence people who are busy.
Yeah. It's such a fascinating part, isn't it? Because, and this is why I've always been quite fascinated, and me as a leader, I kind of pride myself on that kind of inclusivity. It's like I often think about it and overthink about these things. Like, does it bring being from a diverse background? Does it bring an additional layer of complexity to kind of selling, or not?
It gives you a different.
Sounds like a dirty word, but
selling
like
but selling
winning
isn't.
Hearts and minds.
Yeah, winning hearts. Yeah, exactly. It is. It's winning hearts and minds. It's enabling people in a way that you help them to see that you're there to help them and benefit them. And I think the whole winning hearts and minds, when you've had to, I think that there's a journey that anyone from the LGBTQ plus community has gone through, and I think so being able to have walked that journey then enables you to actually help people go through their own change journey. So I think it has good foundations from that perspective.
Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of absorbing, digesting so much, as I say, because I feel like sometimes on these podcasts, I'm asking questions and I kind of know something about the answers, but I think this is different in the sense of, it's
well, really, we were talking about, unless you've walked in the shoes, you can't really.
Exactly that. Yeah. And just, and really kind of understanding and learning. And this was a big part of, why I was keen to do this, the LOPSided sessions, because it's educational, but also with an additional lens on education. So taking it to retention and development, what makes people stay in a legal ops role or team beyond salary or perks?
From the lens that I see it, and also the lens that I sell it, is opportunity and growth. But ultimately it comes down to people. So if they are in an environment where they feel appreciated and seen and heard and valued, then they're more likely to stay. And that means understanding and engaging people to motivate them and continue to grow. Because people ultimately, it doesn't matter what discipline that I've worked across, from a recruitment perspective, they're motivated to. Money is, of course, always a component, but actually, ultimately, people want to have purpose. They want to have meaning. They want to be seen. They want to be appreciated. They want to feel heard, and they want to feel like that they're developing and continuing to grow. Because otherwise, what are they doing?
And what do you think the balance would look like there? We touch on salary and perks, but is it like is it a balance of purpose and salary? You know, do you think?
Depends on the individual.
Yeah.
Yeah, depends on the individual, depends on the time in their life, it depends on where they're at from a growth maturity perspective, it depends on where your function is at as well, and whether it can support where they're at that particular moment in time. And that's why you always need to contextualize these things.
And as a leader, as I'm lucky enough to be, like what part can a leader play in that? Like in terms of creating that open, safe, inclusive environment to get the right talent, regardless of the background, the ethnicity, the sexual orientation.
It
Is there anything there? Is there anything that you see, because you work with leaders across all of law, all of the big four? Is there anything you see that are those? It goes back to my earlier point. Those kind of red flags that make you think, oh, this talent
won't fit there.
They won't be able to nurture the talent in the way I know the potential is in this person.
Yeah. I
see
that all
a
the
lot
time.
Of that?
Yeah, I see a lot of that. I see a lot of that. But again, it comes down to the environment that they're in, the maturity cycle that the function, the team, the organization is at, and leadership. It does right from the top. So that can shift things quite dramatically. And I've seen that as well. Like, there's definitely people that I've got red flag buckets of firms, people, organisations.
I mean, would you like literally in that sense? So, would you literally have kind of a bit of, I suppose, and this is always something that fascinates me, and in terms of like what we call chemistry meetings. So, if for those who may not have done this before, if you're doing kind of coaching, executive coaching, even therapists, whatever it might be, you'll have these kind of chemistry meetings that kind of set you up to make sure you're paired with the right person. From a recruitment point of view, are you kind of consciously or subconsciously, do you feel having those kind of chemistry meetings based on, the candidate, the nature of the candidate, who they are, to my earlier point, their orientation, gender, ethnicity.
All
Does
of
that play a part when you're assessing?
Yeah, absolutely.
The fit?
Chemistry, yeah, absolutely. It does for me, because I want to make sure that I'm setting people up for success and that they're in a safe environment and that they're going to be supported. And I consider the not only the direct environment but the broader environment as well.
Okay, so in terms of organisations themselves, is there anything specific that they should be doing that you feel that they're not doing to nurture underrepresented talent in legal ops in particular?
In legal ops in particular, I think if you were to bring in more people from other industries, you would have a great opportunity to develop that underrepresented groups, actually, because it's broader. There's many groups that are underrepresented. And I think there's a lot of hiring practices at the moment that are still you have to have some touch point on legal, and that's just not within some societal groups' reach. It hasn't been. They just haven't, because of past hiring practices.
And where are we now in terms of, you touched on it earlier when you first came out of Zurich. We won't say how many years ago, but some years ago. But have you seen the progression? Because there's a lot made of, where we are now to where we were, how much better it is. I mean,
it is better.
Do you believe that? Do you feel that? Is that authentic?
I do believe that. I can reflect on the experience my wife had at one of the big four as well. And it has definitely changed. It is better, but we can always be better.
We can always be better. It's a very, very good point. So, on future of talent in legal ops, just wanted to touch on this a bit. How do you see the skill set for legal operations evolving in the next 3 to 5 years? I mean, you touched on the point of maybe looking outside of legal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is I mean, is that the next step, or is there, in
I
terms of the
think,
competencies required?
yeah, I think, well, so where I think it's going to get to is ultimately it will get to legal operations will be seen as a trusted advisor.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore there will be less resistance there. And that's just a matter of going through that maturity cycle of it becoming the norm, which is what I'm so passionate about, that it's not the new thing, it's actually just intrinsically part of how organizations operate, is
Mm-hmm.
that they have a legal operations function, because every other enabling function has one. And it just makes sense. And so the skills will be less focused on the low-hanging fruit, which was initially quite often around financial reporting and just, lots of troubleshooting, doing the low-hanging fruit. I think also AI is obviously going to play into that. I was going to try and avoid using
Using
the
AI.
AI.
I wondered how long it would take.
Yeah, well, come on. I think I did all right.
You did. No, you did
Yeah,
well. You did well with that.
but again, like I'd look at AI and I'd go, okay, well, so what's my opinion on that? My opinion is that AI will not replace you, because again, you've got to put that contextual overlay on it that only humans can do, because of the chemistry thing. But AI, the person who can use AI will replace you, not AI. So if you're not adapting and adopting and educating yourself on how you can use it to make your life quicker, faster, better, then it's the person who can use it that will beat you to the punch.
And what are you personally most excited about when it comes to the future of legal ops talent and culture?
A more diverse set, yeah, and bigger. Like it's the critical mass, the momentum, the evolution, the acceptance, and the normalization.
And what kind of, I suppose, an adjacent question is that what you're recruiting a lot in this space, and legal ops is a broad church, isn't it? Where are you seeing the key points of activity where the most excitement? Pricing, legal project management, the consulting piece, technology more broadly, the transformation space. Are there any particular elements of that legal operations
Oh, everyone's
space?
excited about tech right now. Like I mean, yeah, every man and his dog is just like, oh, AI. This is going to just completely change things, and it will, but it will take time, and it also takes tidying up your house first. Like I say, you can't have a spa bath unless your toilet flushes.
It's a very good point.
Mm.
So finally, I wanted to touch, back to the broader piece around this prior inclusion,
Yep.
cultural change. So, what does meaningful inclusion look like beyond rainbow logos every June?
That.
Because look,
Yeah.
without going on a passionate rant on this,
No,
it's a bit like Black History Month. I always say, I think Denzel Washington said, why should my history be confined to 1 month a year?
Yeah.
Principally the
Same.
same thing.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
It's
same.
what
It's equality in policies.
Yeah.
So
What does that look like? Meaningful
yeah,
inclusion.
that's equality in policies. So all policies are inclusive of whatever minority group or underrepresented group that you come from. So this is, and I think that this is one of the things with LGBTQ plus. Got to make sure that I catch everybody. Is that it's beyond that for me personally. It's equality for everybody.
Mm-hmm. And how have you seen it? Have you seen? We touched on this earlier, but a shift in how inclusive practices are really truly being embedded into hiring and team culture. I think you referenced earlier that there's a lot of work to do there.
Yeah,
but
mixed success. So I think it feels like a lot of band-aids,
okay,
and a lot of band-aids, a bit of box ticking. Some, and I'll have to do a little shout out. You didn't ask me to do this, but I will do a shout out. Ashurst does an amazing job on that front. I've seen a lot of the stuff, and I've worked with the firm for a long time, but also actually there's it's the policies, it's a community engagement, it is the continual support. It's not just about June.
And you can, I mean, well,
You feel it.
I was going to say the authenticity.
Yeah,
Do you feel
it.
that?
I do.
Can you really see? Can you see quite quickly, like
clearly?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's why I reference, the Band-Aid and the box ticking. As soon as I get a sniff of that, I'm like, see you later. You're in that red list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So one final question on this: what's one misconception people still have about LGBTQ plus professionals in corporate environments versus the reality?
Yeah. So
open on. I want you like.
Yeah, no, but I'm going to say. So you tell me, and I'll tell you whether it's true or not. Because I said I don't think that anyone has had the guts to actually ask me any of those before, so I don't hear any of that stuff.
Yeah.
The only thing that I get is the guys showing me pictures of girls thinking that that's going to interest me.
I had an interesting one. I won't name the person, but the term queer, and it's a very, very impressive person, senior role at a firm, and talking about the role queer. This is a person from an LGBTQ plus background, and he said, I hate that title.
And that's very individual. Queer is very individual. The same as all gay boys have good taste in clothes. I know a few that don't. Like there's anomalies in every group.
Yeah. His view was quite interesting in the sense that he felt it reflected the notion that, that it kind of, this isn't even a word, but kind of deprofessionalized professionals from that industry, in the sense that his view was, the term queer historically has this notion
connotation. It has a connotation.
Like, prancing around the office, not being taken seriously as a professional. And I found that really profound, because just getting that, and this, like I say, is a really impressive character.
Yeah.
Just getting that additional piece.
But that's his perception as well, and that's also his lived experience. And that could come from any number of things. Like, could come from his background, his experience, like, and it's I don't know. There are common threads that go through the communities, and they are communities. Like even within the gay community or the LBG, it's such a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. But even within that broader community, there's subcategories, and it's it's not always rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah, and I suppose just to take you back to your final question. So you've been in this space a long time, and you've worked at a lot of big recruiters, but now you're kind of out on your own as a startup. Tell me a bit more about this.
So that was very much about me being able to choose who I wanted to work with based on all of my own values. And so being able to be authentic, being able to choose who I work with, the people that I believe in, the firms and organizations that I think that will be setting people up for success, and also not being pigeonholed into only being able to do one particular type of roles. I think I'm really interested in the whole front end of the service delivery model. I've done transformation since the global financial crisis, and I've done all of the underlying functional disciplines. And so actually I like helping people. I like the chemistry piece for me, and as cheesy as it sounds, you get the right people in the room, magic happens. And I love that.
Where does Marble Grange come from?
So that is an interesting question. My business partner, who unfortunately recently passed away, when I asked him that question when I joined him, he liked Marble because it's strong, and that there was a house called the Grange near where he grew up when he was young that he always thought was beautiful. And then the tree, our symbol is a tree, and it's like the tree of life.
Amazing. And look, on the authenticity point, because one of the things I love about you, I think it's probably an underrated skill in recruitment. I think recruiters do get a bit of a bad
a lot of them deserve it.
And a lot of them do deserve it, quite frankly. Like, some of the things you get through on LinkedIn, some of the, opportunistic approaches, let's call it. I think one of the things I've always liked about you, Karen, is just you say it how it is, but in a way that it's, what do you think about this person for this role, Karen? No, they're not right. Here's why they're not right, or here's why they are right. And I think that's definitely an underrated skill.
Thank you.
Karen, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
right, Karen, it wouldn't be the Lopsided Podcast without the Mythbusters round. And I should qualify that with the fact that this is probably the reason you did this, right?
Yep. I love it.
Yeah, all of the tech budget gone on the we've been
On the
talking about-
button.
On the button, we've been talking transformation. I mean, the battery goes a lot because I press it quite a bit. So, for those not familiar with the podcast, this is the part where I kind of hit Karen with some phrases, some of the kind of things that you hear in the corridors, the conferences, and asked for her view on whether she believes they are bullshit or rubbish, or if there's actually some truth to those commonly heard statements. You ready to get going?
Ready.
Okay, here we go. So, first one. Being out at work is no longer a big deal. Diversity and inclusion are basically solved.
Yeah, no, definitely not. There's a long way to go. Like we said, it's better, but it's not solved.
Okay, interesting. So, question 2. If you hire someone with strong legal tech skills, the rest will figure itself out.
Yeah, no, definitely not. They need more than just strong tech skills. It won't figure itself out.
Okay. Final question. I don't know. Should I make it the final question or should I hit you with a curveball? Let me think about this. So, next statement. You can just repurpose someone from admin or finance into legal operations and pay them less.
It depends what outcome you want. No, definitely not. They need to be. They need to understand the impact. They need to be operational. They need to. Do you know what they need? They need some passion and purpose about what they're doing. And that's, I think, one of the things that I forgot to say earlier is that an understanding and an appreciation and an excitement for what they're doing.
Okay.
And that's not going to come from that.
Okay. Final obnoxious one that I've just thought up.
Go on.
So diversity in thought and people looks great on an RFP, but doesn't actually add much in terms of value to the operation. Is that bullshit?
I'm going to do this as well.
God, thank God.
And I was thinking about it because I was thinking, how can you interpret that? Because you can interpret it from the perspective of, okay, because this is one of the things that I look at, right? Like, again, with, for example, where firms ask or where clients ask for operational efficiencies in what you're delivering. Where's the follow through? Nobody ever follows through on any of that kind of stuff. Where's the accountability? So you can put whatever you want on there. And as long as you say, yes, we do that, there is no, because I've been asking all the outside counsel management recently about how do they track.
They track it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of them, who was I speaking to on this same subject, funny enough? And they were talking about they're putting measures in to kind of...
I've heard a few people doing that recently.
It's great, right?
Yeah, so I'm not going to name them, but there's a big tech company out there that actually does measure that stuff.
Amazing. And let's hope we see more of that. Karen, thanks again.
Thanks, John.
Thank you for watching the Lopsided Podcast with me, John O'Donoghue. Don't forget to follow us on TikTok, Instagram and LinkedIn at the Lopsided Podcast. Check out our website at www.thelopsidedpodcast.com. And most importantly, like us and subscribe to us here on YouTube.